The Senate last Wednesday called for the transfer of the burden of proof in election petitions from aggrieved candidates to the Independent National Electoral Commission, the body that conducts and supervises elections in Nigeria. The proposal formed a key part of deliberations as lawmakers debated the general principles of a bill seeking to repeal the 2022 Electoral Act and enact a new Electoral Act 2025. The move, they argued, will make the electoral process more credible, transparent, and accountable. Now I'm being joined by Mma Odi, who is co-convener, the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, to consider this move by the Senate, to what extent it can help in delivering justice and ultimately the true mandate of the people. Good to have you on the program, Mma Odi. You're welcome to This Day Live.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Well, very quickly, Mma Odi. Electoral reform. We talk about electoral reform every election cycle. It is the same thing this time around. Why is it that every election cycle we have to talk about electoral reform? Why is it that these reforms, we have been on it since 1998, 1999, you and I, we've been at various fora discussing this same subject. Why is it that every election cycle reforms do not work?
Okay, my name is Comrade Mma Odi, and I'm not the co-convener of Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room. I'm a member of the steering committee representing gender in the steering committee. After every general election, there are always gaps in the conduct of the elections and also in the process leading to the elections. There is always efforts to ensure more credible, transparent, and accountable electoral process and elections. That's why that after every general elections, there are always attempts and efforts to strengthen the electoral management bodies and all other stakeholders and also systems to further improve on electoral process and elections in Nigeria to ensure free, fair, credible elections. When the year 2022 Electoral Act was enacted, we celebrated it. But after the implementation of the Act in year 2023 general elections, we saw gaps, especially in the area of the transmission of election results from the polling unit to INEC transmission rather. So then there was need and cry because we also have a serious burden of low turnout of voters. For the first time, we saw so many citizens coming out to register who also were interested to vote after seeing the successes of Osun State and Ekiti State in year 2022 off-cycle governorship election, Anambra, Ondo, and Edo, year 2020 and 21. And many people came out to vote. And the singular aspect that made these off-cycle governorship elections in these 5 states were just the transmission of timely transmission of election results from the polling unit to INEC rather. And many people wanted to be part of that process that we saw. And at the end of the day, what happened in year 2023 general, mostly presidential election happened, and many people were not happy. So in order to bring people back, in order to restore trust, in order to ensure accountability, and to ensure that many people begin to hope again and have faith in an electoral process and elections, then there was this need to ensure that we get it right in year 2027 general elections. And one of the reasons we are pushing is that INEC always delaying giving people results and documents they use to conduct election for them to support their petitions in election tribunal. So it's INEC that conducted the elections. It's INEC that did everything and have the documents. So the burden of proof should be on INEC and not on the petitioners that had nothing to do with the election. INEC conducted the election. They have said we conducted free, fair, peaceful, and inclusive elections. Let them be the ones to prove it. That's why I support wholeheartedly. I've been pushing for that over the years. That's why we support wholeheartedly the Senate position that the burden of proof should be shifted from the petitioners to INEC, the election management body, because they are the ones who conducted this election. All these agitations to move the burden of proof to INEC has not started from Senate. It has been on since Yaradua Waste Committee and report. The burden of proof should be shifted.
I'm not sure you have really answered my question. My original question is, why is it that every election cycle we have to talk about electoral reform? Where is the problem? Because we can have the framework, and the framework doesn't work. It has not worked since 1999, 2003, up to date. Where is the problem? Because we'll get to 2027, and we'll still talk about, reform. We still have to change the electoral framework. But I get your point about burden of proof being on INEC. Even if you say the burden of proof is on INEC, if even you say it is wrong, to say the presumption of regularity, the presumption of compliance, is in favor of INEC. Are there other factors disturbing this electoral process that we need to look at beyond INEC, beyond framework?
Yes, there are other factors. There are so many. And I just told you that what made the difference in all-circle governorship elections in 5 states, Ondo, Edo, Anambra year 2021, Ekiti, and Osun State of year 2022, was timely transmission of election results from the polling unit to INEC Raba. And as it was transmitted, and you saw that those big votes they used to announce drastically reduced, and the real votes counted. So, which means that the weakest link of rigging elections is actually correlation of election results. And even the amendments have not addressed it, because he's saying that it's transmitted to coalition portal or whatever. It has to be strengthened. And that was the only reason people. We also know that if they remove the appointment of chairman of INEC and the national commissioners from the presidency, which is a long walk, and which we might not even achieve this time around, we also help the independence of INEC and also strengthen the electoral management body and give confidence for them to conduct free, fair, because you who appoints also determines how the person appointed works for him. Because the person appointed, if you appoint me as the chairman, I'll be accountable to you. So that's why we have been asking that the appointment of the chairman of INEC and the national commissioner should be removed from the presidency, from the president himself. But we might not achieve that right now. But what we can achieve, which we have seen verifiable evidence that it works in the past, is to ensure timely transmission of election results from the polling unit. Not what happened in by-election in Kogi State, when they were completing and transmitting rubbish. To ensure that people, and also to strengthen political parties and their party agents, like what we saw in Ghana in December year 2024. where party agents were keen. And
Okay,
make sure that whatever happens in the polling units is also key that determines the outcome of the elections. So the political parties have to be responsible in Nigeria and take their place serious. And the security agent, another major stakeholder in the election circle, has to also be will be unbiased and conduct their work, especially the primary security agents, which is the police, and make sure they actually perform professionally and ensure that they are interested for free, fair, credible, and inclusive elections. If all the stakeholders, the political parties, the election observers, and the security agents and INEC, especially INEC, if we perform professionally and credibly, we will have free, fair, credible elections. But in order to ensure that there is also inclusiveness in these elections, the burden of proof must be shifted to
Okay, I have one more question for you. Okay, as we begin to round up this conversation, I would like to ask you, we are already faced with a federal complaint. The Senate has approved the appointment of Professor Joash Amokwiton. The National Executive Council of Nigeria has sworn him in. What will be your advice to him, specifically in just about 3 sentences? I heard you, your concerns, your expectations. What will you say to him as a person now taking on the responsibility of running Nigeria's elections?
What I will say to him is that Nigeria should come first. He's a Nigeria, and he should be interested in governance of this great country. And also, he should also look at what happened to the immediate past chairman. He came with good intentions and promised us that he would deliver. But the only thing we remember him today was his mistake, the creech that happened in a 2023 presidential election. So nobody celebrated him. He tried his best. He tried to improve the systems in INEC and all that. But we didn't. He tried to make many INEC procedures and rules and bylaws. Nobody remember those things now. We only remember his failure. And the current chairman of JOAS is coming with a burden of Yakub. He has also carried the Yakub body because he has to perform to improve, like the president told him the day he was sworn in, told him that Anambra is though I think Anambra is already gone. It's a test case for integrity. Anambra is not gone because Anambra is just barely 2 weeks away on the 8th of November. So I think Ekiti and Osun should be the test for his integrity. And he should remember that Nigerians will judge him for what he has done. And he's carrying the burden of the mistake of Professor Yakub Mahmoud. He's carrying that burden. And he's a burden. He has to take away the burden and prove that he has integrity to move the elections and electoral process forward in Nigeria. Because if INEC is threatened, the court will follow suit and the security people will fall in line. And we will have free, fair, peaceful, inclusive, and credible election that the people can celebrate again. That's what I think.
Okay, Maudi, thank you very much for joining us on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show. And it's good to see that you are as vibrant as ever, for decades. You are still who you are. Thank you very much indeed for joining Ruben Abati on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show.